Whatever you're thinking, whatever it is, whatever you want, just say it, and it is going to be all yours. And whatever they're paying you, I'll give you double.
Espera, espera, espera!
Good evening, sir. How can I help you?
When do you get off?
Midnight.
2:30. That is my place. Let me help you out. Follow.
The movie begins with the release of a powerful mafia boss. Unlike the rest of the prisoners, his confinement has been nothing more than a mere formality. He enjoys luxuries improper for a prison. With comforts typical of a five-star hotel, his cell looks more like a suite than a place of punishment. Upon leaving his room and walking through the prison corridors, the other inmates begin to shout his name, cheering him as if he were a movie star. The moment makes it clear that even behind bars, his power and influence remain intact, establishing from the start the kind of man everyone fears and respects. Once released, he is picked up by his trusted men, who take him to a hotel surrounded by armed guards. For his welcome, his men hired the services of several escorts. While he entertains himself, one of the guards notices that someone is coming up in the elevator. He approaches suspiciously and receives a heavy blow to the head. Upon hearing the noise, the others load their weapons and remain covering the entrance. However, they're stunned when they see the body of one of their companions hanging outside. Immediately afterward, the assassin enters using the guard at the entrance as a shield and neutralizes them in less than 2 minutes. Overwhelmed by the situation, the mafia boss decides to hide, hoping his guards will neutralize the threat, but what he does not know is that they are all dead. Upon entering the room, the hitman orders the women to leave. After this, he locates his target and the man tries to bribe him to spare his life. He will pay him triple what he was paid. He can get him anything he wants. Without saying a single word, the assassin shoots him in the head. Now we meet the hitman's boss, who respects him for his brutality in the field. With total admiration, he tells his soldiers about the impossible missions he has entrusted to Bang, all executed flawlessly without leaving a single trace. Without a doubt, he is the best soldier he has known in his entire criminal life. When he appears, he asks his son Johnny to hand over the payment. With his characteristic silence, Bang takes the money and proceeds to leave. His boss stops him and invites him to a dinner he has prepared for tomorrow. Bang accepts the invitation and leaves the place. With the payment in hand, he heads to a pleasure house, where several hired girls are doing adult live streams. It turns out that his girlfriend is there. She decides to end the stream to accompany him. Her boss, noticing that no one is on the stream, approaches the room and sees her leaving with Bang, so he stays silent to avoid problems. The next day, our protagonist wakes up to start his daily routine. He showers and decides to play for a few minutes. Hours later, he receives an unexpected visit from his boss and some of his soldiers. The old man asks one of them to step forward, and when he turns his back on them, he attacks him with a wine bottle, pulls out his gun, and shoots him at point-blank range. Then he confesses to the group that he was tired. He has been talking for more than a month about getting married and that he was planning to retire. In his organization, no one can retire. The only way to leave the association is by dying. He orders his hitman to clean the scene, and he does so. To dispose of the body, he submerges it in a bath of folic acid. A couple of hours later, he heads to a nightclub to hire an escort. However, a hitman surprises him at his most vulnerable moment and shoots him at point-blank range until emptying the magazine. Later, we see him being admitted to the emergency room, where we learn that he is still alive. While the doctors do everything possible to save him, the mafia arrives at the hospital desperate to know the hitman's condition. They speak with the head of the hospital and threaten to kill her if their soldier dies. They must do whatever it takes to save him. After some indefinite time, our protagonist regains consciousness, and the doctor informs him that they had to perform a heart transplant on him. It turns out that there was an accident at the same time he entered the emergency room. A young couple was heading to the hospital to have their baby, but they were hit by another vehicle that was speeding. The mother and the baby survived, but the father was not as fortunate. Bang asks for his name, but the nurse replies that it is confidential information. Using his ingenuity, our protagonist obtains the name of the baby's mother. He contacts nursing and sends a bouquet of flowers to the girl's room. Then he decides to visit her, and upon hearing the noise, she wakes up mentioning the name of her deceased partner. Once discharged, his boss takes him to the organization and they receive him with a surprise welcome. They tell him they have a surprise for him, which turns out to be the head of the hitman who tried to kill him. It turns out he was one of the guards of the mafia boss he killed at the beginning of the movie. Apparently, the mobster threatened to kill his family if anything happened to him. Before his death, he left one of his trusted men in charge of fulfilling his promise. When they killed his family, the guard decided to take revenge on the hitman who murdered his employer. The old man hands him a bat and asks him to hit it as if it were a piñata. However, Bang refuses, pointing out that he is tired, his whole body still hurts. They just removed 7 bullets from his torso. He does not feel like smashing heads right now. Despite this, the old man shows him a photo and tells him that he needs him to carry out a new assignment. While trying to rest, Bang begins to think about the girl who lost her partner in the accident. He gets up and contacts the hospital to pay the girl's bills. The next morning, upon receiving an email informing her that her bills were settled, she decides to speak with one of the doctors, and he informs her that apparently the donor decided to return the favor. A few days later, without any contact with the mafia, our protagonist appears at one of the mafia boss's properties. The old man approaches and tells him he looks terrible. He had gone several days without hearing from him. He has lived long enough to realize that he does not know everything he would like to know, but there is something he is certain about. He can climb the mountain to pray all he wants, but in this business, there is only one thing that pulls a man out of his worst moment. It is not alcohol nor relationships. It is work. Work puts a man into action, and the mind is calm when it is in action. Work is liberating and comforting. Some have more. There are few people who are born with a gift like his, but if he refuses to use his gift, little by little he will end up losing it. Forced to return to action, our protagonist prepares the weapons. While doing so, something invades his mind and he remains still for a few seconds. Then he heads outside to a secret area where he keeps his money, fills a suitcase, and goes in search of his target. Later, he goes to his boss to show him the proof of the murder. The old man congratulates him and hands him his payment. He must be ready. On Thursday, they will have another meeting that he must not miss. That same afternoon, we see our protagonist speaking with the owner of a small abandoned town called Venetia. After a brief conversation, Bang hands him a bag full of money. Apparently, he has decided to buy the town for future plans not yet revealed. Still with the girl on his mind, our protagonist decides to follow her to fake a chance encounter. When she runs into him, she thanks him for paying her bills, to which the hitman replies that it is the least he can do. He did it as a form of gratitude. They share their names, and she invites him to take a walk through the park. While they walk through the park, Bang lies to her saying that he is an antique dealer. But he is thinking of getting a new job after what happened. He has reconsidered many things in life. He does not plan to waste the second chance he was given. When Thursday arrives, his boss shows him his next target. Apparently, it is the mafia's former accountant. With the collected information, our protagonist carries out his plan that very night. He shows the proof to his boss and continues with the rest of the operation successfully. When delivering the evidence, Johnny tells him he notices something strange about him. In recent days, he has behaved differently. Responding subtly, Bang makes it clear that he knows all his secrets. Even the secret that he likes men, but he should not worry. His heterosexual facade will remain safe. His father will never know. When he was about to return home, Johnny notices that his partner Momo is leaving the hotel. He waits for him to leave and quickly goes up to the room upset. Upon entering, he sees the bed unmade and his girlfriend showering. He keeps his composure and begins to ask his partner some questions. She was supposed to go to the gym and is only now showering. The girl replies that she got delayed. Upon confirming his suspicions, the mobster shoots her at point-blank range. After telling his father what happened, he decides to call his trusted hitman to take care of Momo. Something Johnny does not agree with, since he wants to take revenge with his own hands. However, his father refuses. He does not believe he is qualified for that kind of job. Before leaving, the old man makes it clear that he must do it right now. Without wasting time, our protagonist goes in search of his target. He takes the evidence and delivers it to the mafia. The next morning, we see our protagonist spending time with the widowed girl. While they share their tastes, in the background we see the hitman's girlfriend secretly taking photos. Upon returning to his apartment, he gathers his girlfriend's clothes and takes them to end the relationship. April approaches and apologizes for not visiting him. They have had their differences, but that does not mean they should end the relationship. Bang makes it clear that everything is over, to which she becomes furious and reveals that she knows about his secret romance. Hurt by the breakup, she shows the photos to Johnny and asks if he knows anything about the girl. He tells her that he saw her at the hospital. She and her husband were victims of an accident. That is how they got his new heart. The next day, April calls Johnny to ask him to come to her apartment. When he arrives, she tells him that she found a note with a location in his clothes. Apparently, Bang forgot to throw it away. Intrigued by the address, the mobster heads to the place and enters stealthily. Upon reaching a building, he hears several people talking, and when he approaches, he gets a shocking surprise. All the victims who were supposedly dead are still alive. To obtain proof, he takes out his phone and begins to take photographs. However, Momo notices his presence and immediately runs to stop him. Even so, Johnny manages to escape in his vehicle. Aware of the danger, Momo calls Bang to inform him of what happened. Completely enraged, Johnny tells his father what he has just discovered. All the targets are still alive. He hid them in a small abandoned town 2 hours from the city. Unable to believe it, his father begins to laugh and reminds him that he saw their bodies in the photos. His son interrupts him, claiming they are staged deaths. He shows him the proof, and he falls silent. In the following scenes, it is revealed that Bang faked each of the deaths. The blood used in the photographs was not real, but chicken blood, carefully placed to make each scene believable. Far from being executions, Bang organized everything as an elaborate staging. Each of his supposed victims was secretly moved to the small remote town, where they could remain safe, far from the control of the criminal organization. There he not only offered them shelter, but also the possibility of reuniting with their families, allowing them to start over under the protection of anonymity. To prevent the mafia from harming the woman and her young son, Bang decides to visit her personally. There he hands her $50,000 in cash, so she can leave immediately and take refuge in a safe place. He assures her that he'll send more money later, but makes it clear that for now, the only truly important thing is that they leave as soon as possible. He promises that when everything is over, he will return to tell her the whole truth. While Bang prepares his arsenal, a group of heavily armed mercenaries appears. They move in a coordinated and tactical manner, securing the place room by room. Upon opening one of the doors, they activate a smoke trap that alerts the protagonist. When they enter the dining room, Bang triggers another of his traps and manages to knock the entire group unconscious in a matter of seconds. Then he puts on a mask and eliminates the mercenaries without major complications. Aware that the final confrontation is inevitable, he heads to the hospital with the intention of taking the emergency helicopter. At the same time, on the road, we see the entire mafia advancing in several vehicles, determined to finish him off. The hitman arrives at the town and distributes his arsenal among the survivors, arming the group for the battle that is about to begin. The mafia will not take long to arrive. The men secure their families and position themselves strategically, prepared to defend the place. When the enemy vehicles appear, Bang greets them by firing a rocket launcher, while the rest of the group empties their magazines against the mafia, unleashing a brutal confrontation. Noticing that another group is trying to enter through a secondary entrance, Bang follows them stealthily and eliminates them one by one without alerting the rest. However, when trying to advance, the enemies notice his presence and begin to surround him. Even so, the hitman manages to get out alive, executing a risky move that allows him to finish them all. Finally, upon managing to enter the main building, Momo surprises several mafia men and eliminates them from behind. At the same time, Johnny and his group run into Bang, who forces them to retreat with his pistol. At that moment, the rest of Bang's team appears to back him up, managing to counter the attack and leaving Johnny at a clear disadvantage. Seeing death so close, Johnny begs the hitman to spare his life. However, as expected, Bang executes him without mercy. Before doing so, He turns on his camera so that his father can witness the exact moment his son dies at Bang's hands. Then the old man calls Bang to inform him that his men managed to intercept his new girlfriend. He makes it clear that he decided to play against him and that now he will have to pay the consequences. After hanging up, the old man orders his men to move the girl to another place. April will be in charge of killing her, and once done, they must throw her body in a landfill. When they try to put her in the trunk, Bang's team appears in the area and confronts the guards outside. The shootout is intense, and during the exchange of gunfire, the hitman receives 2 shots to the torso, still wounded. Together with Momo, he manages to break through and enter the building, while the rest of the group holds off the guards in the courtyard. After running out of ammunition, Momo is forced to face one of the guards hand to hand. At first, the mobster approaches confidently, convinced he has the advantage, but he soon is surprised to discover his rival's skills. Momo blocks each attack with precision, strikes him repeatedly until leaving him stunned, and finally ends the fight by throwing him from the first floor. Meanwhile, Bang continues advancing until reaching his boss's room. There he finds the baby crying inside his carrier. At that moment, his ex-girlfriend attacks him from behind with a knife. Although she manages to wound him, Bang disarms her and throws her to the ground. He points his weapon at her, but after a few seconds of tension, he decides to spare her life. Suddenly, the old man comes out of his hideout and confronts him. He calls him a failure and reproaches him for having a gift he refuses to take advantage of. Convinced that Bang will not be able to kill him, he approaches wielding an axe. Just when he raises it to attack, the hitman shoots him in the chest. While he bleeds out on the floor, the old man dies, assuring that he always thought he would not have the courage to shoot him. 3 years later, we see our protagonist completely retired from violence. He now enjoys a peaceful life with his new girlfriend, with whom he has decided to start over and build the life that was always denied to him. Remember to subscribe and activate the notification bell to stay updated with the channel. Do not forget to leave your like along with a comment. That way you help me position my content to reach more people. I hope you have a beautiful day. With nothing more to add, see you in the next one.